While politicians smile for the cameras, Australia has just entered a recession that's already emptying your wallet and threatening your job.
Australia's economy is expected to take a $13 billion hit.
We're entering a new era as the global economic system that has operated for the last 80 years is being reset.
Well, there is really an outbreak of economic illiteracy in the political class in this country, in the media class. I fear that Jim Chalmers is suffering from it.
News today that our economy is slowing further, so that under Labor we have plunged once more back into a per capita recession. Wow, those good times didn't last long, did they?
That means per person the economy is going backwards, and it's gone backwards for 9 of the last 11 quarters, almost continuously, apart from 2 quarters. Over the last 3 years, the economy has gone backwards when measured on a per-person basis.
At the local school fundraiser last weekend, I overheard a conversation between 2 parents. One of them, a nurse named Sarah, mentioned they're skipping their annual family holiday this year, first time in a decade. "We just can't make the numbers work anymore," she sighed, glancing at her kids playing nearby. Sarah's experience mirrors what's happening across Australia right now. Millions of families are feeling the squeeze, and there's a clear reason for it. The Australian Bureau of Statistics just confirmed what you've been experiencing. Our economy is officially in a per capita recession. Today, I'm cutting through the political spin to show you what this really means for your family, who's responsible, and most importantly, how to protect yourself as things get worse. Chapter 1. The numbers don't lie.
And remember, when your increased electricity bill hits your family budget, it also adds to the burden on small business and on major industries, and it fuels inflation, pushing up the cost of just about everything. So it's not just the hip pocket pain, it's the undermining of all of our economic prosperity.
In Brisbane, a small cafe that's been operating for 15 years just put up a staff wanted sign. Not because business is booming, but because the owner, James, had to let 2 people go. When customers come in now, they order just a coffee, skipping the cake or sandwich they might have added before. Everyone's watching every dollar. This cafe is a microcosm of what the economic data confirms. Our economy grew by just 0.2% in the March quarter, down from an already weak 0.57% in December. With population growing at 0.4%, each person's slice of the economic pie got smaller. Think about it like this. Imagine you and 9 friends share a pizza every Friday. The pizza's been getting 2% bigger each week, but suddenly 3 new people join your group. The pizza's still growing, but your individual slice is getting smaller. That's exactly what's happening to Australia's economy right now. Year on year, the picture is even clearer. While the economy grew 1.3% since March 2024, our population grew by 2.0%. That means GDP per person is down 0.7% over the year, the worst annual decline outside of a pandemic since the 1990s recession. And unlike previous economic challenges, this one can't be blamed on a global financial crisis or pandemic. This recession is homegrown.
So from what I can see, small businesses are struggling. They've got more costs involved with input. Wages are going up in some regard.
By the way, if you're new to the channel, subscribe now for unfiltered truth about what's really happening to our country. Chapter 2. The Real-World Impact. A recent community forum in Perth revealed just how widespread the economic pain has become. Lisa, a healthcare worker with over a decade of experience, stood up and shared her frustration. "I'm doing everything right. I've got a good job, I don't splurge on luxuries, but I still can't get ahead. My rent just went up another $50 a week and the grocery bill keeps climbing. It feels like I'm running on a treadmill that keeps getting faster." Heads nodded throughout the room. Lisa's experience is playing out in homes across Australia. Housing costs have skyrocketed, with the average mortgage payment up 37% since 2022. Grocery prices have jumped 23%. Electricity bills are up 29%, but wages? They've grown just 11%.
Electricity bills will rise next month, despite the state government promising households would pay less under the LNP. But
the evidence is visible on any suburban shopping strip. Count the empty shopfronts with "for lease" signs. In the March quarter alone, over 12,000 Australian businesses shut their doors permanently. Behind each of those numbers is a family's dream collapsing. The job market statistics hide a troubling reality. Australia has lost 45,000 full-time jobs in the past 3 months. While the unemployment rate sits at 4.1%, it masks the growing problem of underemployment. At industry networking events, you'll meet people like Michael, a graphic designer whose workload has dropped from 40 hours weekly to just 15 to 20 hours. On paper, he's employed, but in reality, he can barely cover rent. For young couples across Australia, the housing market feels increasingly hopeless. At a recent housing affordability workshop, Emma and Josh, both professionals in their late 20s, shared how they've been saving diligently for 5 years. Despite their efforts, house prices keep outpacing their savings. The average first home buyer now needs to save for 9.2 years just to get a deposit. This isn't just about numbers. It's about Australian dreams being deferred or destroyed.
One thing that we know for certain is that we haven't hit the transmission and distribution parts of your bill yet. We've only hit the wholesale price. So a big cost is on the way. And how do people swallow that?
Chapter 3. Who's responsible? Remember the press conference after the May federal election? The Treasurer stood confidently at the podium claiming, "Australia's economy remains resilient."
Jim Chalmers is living on another planet when he tells us with all the uncertainty in the world, any growth is a decent outcome. This is not a decent outcome. Taking out the rise of GDP per capita in the last December quarter, 8 of the 9 past quarters have been negative GDP per capita, a reasonable measure of living standards. The economy is on life support, and it would be better to recognise this.
The disconnect between those words and what's happening in suburbs and regional towns across the country couldn't be more stark. The truth is, this recession didn't just happen. It was created through policy choices. The Reserve Bank's aggressive interest rate hikes over the past 2 years have hammered household budgets and crushed small businesses. Yes, inflation needed addressing, but the speed and scale of these increases have been devastating. Even with the recent May 2025 rate cut to 3.85%, mortgage holders are still paying significantly more than they were just a few years ago. Meanwhile, the government's record immigration program has boosted headline GDP figures while driving down living standards. Our infrastructure, housing, and services haven't kept pace with population growth. Energy policy chaos has left businesses facing some of the highest electricity costs in the developed world. A manufacturing industry conference in Adelaide last month revealed the extent of the crisis. Multiple business owners reported power bills doubling in 3 years, with some considering moving operations offshore because they simply can't compete anymore. And both major parties have failed to address Australia's productivity crisis. We're working harder but producing less value, with labor productivity declining for years. Internationally, China's economic slowdown has hit our exports, but let's be honest, many of our wounds are self-inflicted. Chapter 4. What happens next? At a recent economic briefing for industry leaders, the presentation's slides painted a grim picture. Off the record, economists are far more pessimistic than they admit publicly. Their forecast: prepare for at least 18 months of economic contraction. The worst is yet to come. The OECD recently downgraded Australia's growth forecast to just 1.5% for 2025, well below population growth.
The OECD has downgraded Australia's economic growth this year. It's expecting the economy will grow by 1.8%, down from 1.9%, which it had originally forecast. The organisation is warning federal and state governments to repair their budgets as data shows a record growth in welfare spending. It's also recommending Australia loosen its development regulations and cut red tape at all levels of government to ease the housing crisis.
The per capita recession is likely to continue through the year. For homeowners, there's a mixed outlook. The RBA's May rate cut to 3.85% provides some relief, but it's just the beginning of what would need to be a series of cuts to meaningfully reduce mortgage stress. Currently, about 15% of mortgage holders are in financial stress, and while the rate cut helps, economists suggest we need several more cuts before we see significant improvement in household finances. Job security will deteriorate further. Unemployment is forecast to rise to 4.5% by year's end, with underemployment potentially reaching 10%. That means more Australians competing for fewer jobs. Small businesses will continue to struggle as consumer spending remains weak. Another 15,000 to 20,000 closures are projected by December. The newly elected government will likely announce targeted spending measures to address the economic downturn, but with the budget already stretched, their options are limited. The scheduled tax cuts will mainly benefit higher income earners who are less likely to spend the extra money. Chapter 5. Protecting yourself. At a community financial workshop last month, financial counselor Maria Rodriguez shared practical advice for families facing economic uncertainty. Your emergency fund is your first line of defense, she emphasized. Aim for 6 months of essential expenses in a high-interest savings account. With job security deteriorating, this financial buffer is critical. The workshop also highlighted the importance of tackling high-interest debt immediately. Credit card interest rates are at record highs, averaging over 20%. Paying these down should be your priority. If you have a mortgage, the recent rate cut offers some breathing room, but don't get complacent. Consider using this opportunity to build a buffer by maintaining your previous payment amount if you can afford it. And if you're struggling with payments, contact your lender about hardship provisions before you fall behind. Diversifying your income has become essential in this economy. A recent survey of professionals who weathered the 2008 financial crisis showed that those with multiple income streams recovered faster. Take Smith, who after losing his marketing position, built a freelance business that now generates more than his previous salary. Having multiple income streams gives me security I never had with one employer, he explained during a career transition panel. Investing in your skills is equally important. Industries like healthcare, renewable energy, and cybersecurity are still growing despite the broader economic slowdown. Short courses or certifications in these areas could improve your employability. Finally, get politically engaged. Economic policy affects us all, and your voice matters. Hold politicians accountable for their economic management and demand better, long-term planning. The reality is clear. Australia is in a recession that's affecting real people in real ways. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. It's families canceling holidays, small business owners laying off staff, professionals struggling with rising costs, workers getting fewer hours, and young couples watching their home ownership dreams slip away. This isn't just a temporary blip. It's the result of years of policy failures and short-term thinking. And while global factors play a role, many of our wounds are self-inflicted. But Australians are resilient. In every economic downturn, those who stay informed and take proactive steps not only survive, but often emerge stronger. By understanding what's happening, preparing accordingly, and supporting each other, we can weather this storm. To watch our latest investigation into Australia's crisis, click the video here.